Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Career and Professional Development today. My name is Eilish Russell. I am the Career Advisor here in the Career and Professional Development Department, and I'm joined by quite a few members of my team, Roxanne Fenton and Shay Seymour, who are incredible assets to the team and who are going to be sitting in with us today. We're also joined by an amazing guest who I'm going to introduce in just a minute, but let's talk a little bit about our topic for today. We are going to be discussing job searching after graduation as an international student specifically. So what are some of the things that we want to take into consideration as an international student as part of our job search? And my goal for this workshop is for all of us to just learn a little bit more about what this process looks like after we graduate, as well as some tips and tricks and suggestions for making the most of our time, both before and after graduation, with some incredible insight from our guest today, sharing their experiences, as well as some of those tips and tricks that they've picked up along the way. So let's do a little bit of a breakdown of some of the things that we're going to be reviewing today. First, we're going to start with some kind of basic pieces of information to know about post-graduation employment as an international student. So we're going to be talking a little bit about some phrases to know, some definitions, some timelines to know about, so that we're all aware of some of the basic areas we need to keep in mind. Then we're going to go into a little bit of some information about what you might want to consider before you graduate, followed by what we might want to consider after we graduate. So what steps can we take in advance of graduation? And then what do we do afterwards? Then we're going to follow up with some resources to know, as well as a wrap up about kind of everything that we've touched on today. And then, as mentioned, we are going to have a nice little Q&A session with the amount of time that we have left. You're all welcome to drop questions that you have in the chat as we go, or as I mentioned, you're welcome to ask at the end if you would prefer to wait until then. Now, after we've shared our little agenda today, it is with absolute pleasure that I get to introduce our guest panelist for today. Our guest panelist is Asmita. She is an absolute joy to have today. She has a master's in environmental design. She graduated in 2021, and she's going to be talking a lot about her experience as a job seeker, as well as mentioned, some of those tips and tricks that things might be a great fit for everybody to know about. Asmita, if you'd like to introduce yourself and say a little bit about yourself and your experience.
Hi, everyone. I am Asmita Kerkar. So I joined ArtCenter in 2019, and I was in the spatial design department. I completed my master's in science in environmental design, after which I worked for a year with Steelcase, and currently I'm working as a design strategist at FEN, where we are designing food shelves in the hunger relief sector. So I'm really excited to share my experience with you and how did I navigate finding a job.
Thank you so much, Asmita. I'm so excited. So let us get started, as mentioned, with some of those kind of basic knowledge areas, right? So first and foremost, what's the big area post-graduation for employment authorization as an international student? So OPT, or optional practical training, is a work authorization that allows you to work for up to 12 months after graduation. And this is something that I want everybody to know now, and that I think is really important to mention. You are eligible to apply for OPT as early as 90 days before your graduation date. So you do not need to wait until after you've graduated or until you're in the stress of graduation to complete that application process. You can actually submit that as early as 90 days before you're graduating. And this is actually something that the International Student Service Office recommends, submitting that application as early as possible so that you're able to work directly into your OPT period after graduation. Now, within your OPT period, you are allowed to accumulate up to 90 days of unemployment over the course of that year. The reason that I want to mention this, and we'll be talking about this further, is because it's really important to kind of utilize, or hopefully not utilize, as much of that period as possible and to utilize it effectively when you need to. So we'll be talking about some strategies to kind of make the most of those 90 days and figure out how to use them really effectively a little bit later on in this presentation. And then the last thing that I want to mention here is that for certain students at ArtCenter, you may be eligible for an extension to your OPT work authorization as a STEM student. So the STEM OPT extension can grant you up to an additional 24 months of work authorization, depending on your degree area and the department that you're in. So this is really helpful to keep in mind, again, because it could give you additional time to kind of explore different work opportunities while you're here, and you may potentially be eligible or be able to apply for this particular extension. And this is something, again, that I really recommend reaching out to the International Student Services Office about as early as possible. Now, the last brief thing that I want to mention here before we start talking about some of our amazing suggestions are a few, though not all, of the post-OPT work authorization options. So we have the H visas, or what many people often hear as the H-1B. We have the O visa, and then we have the EB, or the employment-based visa. Now, the H and the O visa are both temporary visa options. They have a kind of set period of time, usually 3 or 6 years, in which you can work in the United States on those visas. And then the EB, or the employment-based visa, is a permanent one. I recommend taking a look into all of your different work authorization options. Again, a great opportunity to reach out to International Student Services, talk to them about what your different opportunities are, which potential work authorizations or visas might be applicable to you or which are eligible to you, and start thinking about that as early as possible. Again, we're going to be talking in a little bit about different opportunities that you have to kind of extend the amount of time you're able to work here, such as the O visa, and as Asmita will be able to describe to us, that is quite a lengthy process. So knowing if it's an option for you as early as possible and giving you time to prepare your application for those pieces is going to be really, really helpful. Again, since this is not our kind of wheelhouse at ArtCenter, I really do recommend reaching out to the International Student Services Office, getting their expertise. They're a fantastic resource and a great place to ask any questions about these different authorization options, as well as some more specifics about your OPT process and any other aspect of your visa between now and when you graduate. So with that said, let's start talking about some of our processes. So what can we start doing before we graduate? I think one of the biggest pieces here is going to be preparing your materials. Asmita, we've talked, many times about the importance of having materials that really demonstrate and contextualize your skill set and speak to who you are and what you can potentially bring to a position. And I would love to hear some of your thoughts on, developing those, especially during your time at ArtCenter when you have access to all of the resources here.
Right. So this is a very crucial piece in your job search. It's mostly about designing your elevator pitch, having a brand language. So there are a lot of classes in ArtCenter too. I don't know if they still offer that. It's called the Personal Brand Lab, which is about designing your cards, designing your elevator pitch, even designing your LinkedIn. So understanding how and what LinkedIn portrays about you. What is the picture that you have set? What is the background picture that you have set? Does it talk about you? What is the description that you have given? Your experience and a little bit of explanation in bullet points is required on LinkedIn. Understanding the SEO of LinkedIn. Do you have your name in the URL that you have set on LinkedIn so that whoever searches for you is directed towards your LinkedIn? Having your resume set based on the applications that you are targeting for is going to be very important. Using the resources that CPD has, as well as using the resources that are there outside, is crucial. trying to reach out to mentors while you are in ArtCenter. And when I say mentors, it doesn't just mean your friends or CPD. It could be the professionals who are coming in for your jury. You can always speak to them, and it's all about asking for an opportunity to review your portfolio or to review your resume. So they will give you an insider insight on what people look at from the company, right? So preparing all these is important. And your online experience, which is very important. A lot of them are going to ask you for an online portfolio. And don't overwhelm them with a lot of knowledge on your online website. Try to keep it crisp and try to have a section where you're telling them what is the year in which you did that project, what was your role, what is the type of project, and what were your key responsibilities. So that gives them an idea about whether or not they should look through the whole document further, right? So these are few things that I say I used during my process.
Amazing. And I think that it's really, really great to, again, just mention here, the resources and the connections that you have at ArtCenter are not just your immediate peers or CPD. They can be your faculty members. They can be folks who visit ArtCenter, folks who are available for portfolio reviews. Tap into every portion of your network that you can, which is going to be something that we talk about as well in many portions of this conversation today. Tapping into your network and really utilizing as many of those connections as possible is, I think, incredibly important. And we just touched on this really briefly, but I wanted to hit in again. Developing an online presence is really, really important. Having a LinkedIn profile that really is well developed and that you are able to use as a home base for your descriptions of your work, but also by which you can start connecting with people and sending outreach messages and things like that, as well as having a website that speaks really well to your skill set is, I think, an incredibly useful tool to develop as early as possible. And Asmita, I know that you mentioned when we initially spoke that sometimes we can feel a little worried about reaching out to people and connecting on LinkedIn, but we should do it anyway, right?
Yeah, so I know one of the routes is a lot of people do allow for free messages on LinkedIn, but whenever you send a connection request on LinkedIn, make sure you put a small note on what is the purpose of you connecting with them, right? And it needs to be as short as possible. So there is always this fine line between, am I being rude? Is this too little that it's not conveying my message, or it's not warm enough? So it's okay. People know that LinkedIn is for people to connect when they need something or they need help with something. So trying to be precise on what is the help you need, writing that short note while you connect to them is crucial, and people do connect back. A lot of them might not connect, but there will be a bunch of people who will connect back to you. And then these will be the people who will advocate for you further. There could be any opportunities that can come later in life. And when we speak about online presence, and if you ever think about taking the Owen visa route, you require a lot of publications. You need a lot of writings or articles on your work. So you can start from now itself. There are platforms like Shoutout LA, or there is platform like Voyage LA, where you can nominate your work, or your professors, your friends can nominate your work. And if it aligns with their platform, they'll reach out to you. So that's a small start to put your work out there in the industry so that people know about you. So creating that online presence from early on will help you later as you graduate.
Amazing. Thank you. And this leads right into, I think, building your creative community. So thinking about your creative community, again, as not just your peers, not even necessarily just your faculty, but this larger community that you have in Southern California, identifying opportunities to create that that base of people for yourself is really, really incredibly helpful. Asmina, I know that you have talked in a few ways about how having that creative community has been really helpful, and how to, build that up as you kind of prepare for graduation. Do you have any really big recommendations that students can take part in now as they're thinking about their graduation process?
Right. So I know that ArtCenter life can be hectic. So volunteering while you are at school can be difficult, but there have been a lot of organizations that give you volunteer work on month-to-month basis. So it's not a full-time commitment, and they're pretty flexible on your time and your availability. Why I say that this is important is I started my OPT with a volunteer organization who have now hired me after 1 year association with them when I was in a tough situation during recession. So I feel like having that bond with someone in the industry is going to be crucial, and you can build that while you are in a secure place where you do not have to worry about your visa, right? And when I speak about creative community, this community can also come from the people who come for jury, like your sponsored projects. It's about going and speaking to people, understanding their interests and knowing if your interests align with them, and just telling them that this is what I'm interested in. Do you have any opportunity? I would love to collaborate. So always looking for collaborations is a key to create a creative community. And lastly, I would say going for events. So there are a lot of organizations that have night mixers, like the LA Climate Designers. They always have night mixers where people who are working around climate change from a very broad spectrum of industry come to these mixers. So you get a chance to meet with them one-on-one, and people remember you when you meet with them one-on-one and share your experience with them or share your work with them. And a lot of people are aware about ArtCenter, so in LA especially, so leverage that and put yourself in front of them and explain about your experiences.
Amazing. Okay, wonderful. And then I think all of these pieces here can be really well described under the phrase, get involved early. Start thinking about these things maybe before you think you even should, right? As we know, when we've spoken, you've said even as early as your second term can be a great time to start thinking about things like internships and volunteer opportunities and networking and getting involved in your community broadly.
Right. So summer internship is a really great time where you can have your foot in the industry. A lot of people have got written offers based on the 6 months that you spend with the company, right? So trying your best to get that opportunity is very crucial. People start hiring like crazy in the month of Jan. So when it's the holiday season in December, though you feel like I need to go into the holiday season, try to work for a while before Christmas, get your portfolio, your resumes ready after you have finished your finals. Even if you do not have an online presence yet, have your PDFs ready so that you can send that over and get an internship opportunity. And you can also get a fellowship opportunity. You can try for any smaller volunteer opportunities. So just try to find any opportunity that can build your portfolio, because these are the projects that you can add on in your portfolio as either interest projects or as real life experiences in the industry, which you can sell to the full-time opportunities when you interview with them. So getting involved early is going to be very crucial. And trying to find a mentor also is going to be crucial for you if you can, because it takes a little time to ask for people for their time to help you, right?
Absolutely. And just as a note here, CPD does facilitate an annual mentorship program. It happens every fall term, and we start opening up applications for the mentorship program in the end of the spring term and throughout the summer. So if you're interested in finding a mentor, this could be a really great opportunity for you, but know that there are so many different ways that you can find mentors. Ones that are really formal opportunities, ones that are a little bit less formal, folks who, as Asmita said, can really advocate for you and be a great reference for you and kind of help you understand aspects of the industry that maybe you wouldn't have understanding of, or the ability to get inside knowledge in earlier. So that's really incredibly helpful. Now, we've talked a little bit about this previously in a few different ways, but I want to highlight it again. It can be really beneficial to consider volunteer opportunities as a great way to get some experience, but also as a way to build connections in an industry. Asmina, I know we've talked about this a little bit already, but is there anything else that you'd like to share about the benefits of volunteer opportunities, both as you're preparing to graduate from ArtCenter during your time here, and then we can touch on it again about after graduation as well.
Right. So having a volunteer opportunity was really helpful for me because I wasn't aware earlier that you can start your OPT with a volunteer opportunity. So if you have a volunteer opportunity earlier in your school days, you can start your OPT with that same volunteer opportunity and you save those 3 months. And saving those 3 months is very crucial because those 3 months get carry forward to your STEM OPT, and then you have 6 months of spare time to find a new job if something happens like layoff or there is recession. Or there is a hiring freeze. So you are not always on the fence about what do I do next? I do not have a job because you just have 3 months or 1 month. So getting these volunteer opportunities are crucial just so that it is a safety net for you. If you do not have anything after you graduate, because ours was the second batch that graduated after COVID, and there was hiring freeze during that time. So having this volunteer opportunity after a month of me exhausting my employment days was a savior. So I would recommend you to have these opportunities open. Volunteer Match is a great place to look for volunteer opportunities. Idealist is a great place to look for volunteer opportunities. If you are more into community-driven projects, you have Placemaking US where you can look for volunteer opportunities, and Placemaking US could also be a great place to network. So a lot of these volunteer opportunities will introduce you to different stakeholders who are from different industries. So if I give you an example in my life, I'm volunteering with Placemaking US, but Placemaking US is working with City Fabric and Long Beach Fresh, and it is also working with LA City of Health. So that way it opened doors for me in City Fabric. It opened doors for me in the LA City of Health. So I can reach out to these people if I need some connections.
Amazing. Thank you. I think, and that's something that I think a lot of folks don't realize is that volunteer opportunities can count towards your OPT period so that you're able to kind of save those days if you need to for a later point in time if necessary. Now, we've talked about mentorship a lot. What do you think are some of the biggest areas that a mentor can really help support you, especially as an international student, in making inroads into an industry?
Right. So one thing that has really helped me is trying to look at alumni who have tried to take the similar direction or similar career path that I want to, and trying to reach out to them, asking for a coffee chat or a virtual chat if they have the time. So being mindful and thanking them in the end for reading through the message is important. Being grateful for them giving the time to speak with you is important to be told to them. I think mentorship is also very important when it comes to your portfolio. So you are so engrossed in your own work, you do not realize the things that are not working in your portfolio. So always having a third eye is crucial. Again, don't try to speak with your friends who are in the same department, because you all are conditioned in a similar way. So you'll see your portfolios in a similar way. So trying to show your portfolio to someone who is outside of your department is important, because your first people who look at your portfolio and your resume are the recruiters or the hiring managers. So trying to understand how a third person is looking at your portfolio and what do they feel about it is needed. The second step is something which is a little more harder to get. So I did get mentorship from a person in Smith Group who looked at my portfolio and gave me insights on what a person inside the industry wants to look at. So a lot of people out there on LinkedIn are available to review your portfolio. It's always better to look at people who are from ArtCenter, or if there are people who have common connections, trying to ask the common connection to introduce you to them are the ways how you can tackle getting a mentor. So I would just say that this one is a hard go, but it would be worth it in the long run.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think that that's incredibly true. And for anybody who is interested in any kind of mentorship experience, please feel free to visit CPD, and we're happy to help you identify if the mentorship program that we offer is a great opportunity for you. If you'd like to identify a mentor outside of the program, we're really helpful in kind of identifying those opportunities and starting some of that outreach, which can feel a little bit nerve-wracking, but is really, really beneficial for your professional development. So I want to add in here as well, starting to attend networking events before you graduate is an incredibly useful process in your professional development. And it can lead you not only to meeting and connecting with different people in your creative community, expanding your creative community, but can also allow you to learn so many new things about that community that you can take into your actual job search process. So Asmita, how have you found networking events to be really helpful in your process?
Right. So with networking events, I feel that you get to know new things that you weren't aware about. I attended a networking event by USGBC, which is on LA green jobs. So I got to know the wonderful work that people are doing in sustainable design. And then they had one-on-one conversations. So they had different breakout rooms, and you could go and talk with people who are actually hiring. And these were not hiring managers, but these were designers. So at that point, you can show them that my work aligns with yours. It's not about like opening your resume and speaking about your resume, but just knowing about what the company is doing and going and telling them about these are the 3 things that I'm really interested about in your company, and I would love to know more. So I found Kit Switch that way, and they introduced me to another person, and they introduced me to another person. So it's like a chain reaction. Sometimes you are very lucky, sometimes you might not find luck, but you will get something or the other from all of this. A lot of resources that I'm citing here are something that the industry professionals have shared with me. So there's a whole resource available just on placemaking. Placemaking is a word that we hear, but I never knew that there are jobs specific to placemaking. So this must be the place, is a resource that one of my connections shared with me, whom I met through Placemaking US. So I feel like you will find your way, or they will connect you to other people who align with your core values. Right? So having that connection through these networking events is going to be very important for you. Showing your own work, giving your work that exposure by explaining your projects to people is going to be important. Trying to find any government jobs, because a lot of them come in these networking events. And I understand that the visa aspect comes when you're working at a government job, but use your CPT. try to find an internship in a government job. Having the name of a government job, like for example, for transportation designers, it's LA Metro. Having that on your resume is going to be crucial. Having Steelcase as an internship on my resume has helped me, because workplace designers look at Steelcase or Herman Miller, and then recruiters will approach you asking you for if you are available for work. So these are the small things that you should start early, so that you can accumulate everything before you graduate and don't have to worry while you have the visa stress on you.
Amazing, amazing. Absolutely agree. And again, if you're interested in networking resources, how to start networking, what do I say in a networking event, please feel free to reach out to us. We're here as a support network. We're happy to help you, and we have so many built out resources on this area already. So really quickly, I just want to hold this up here for a moment. There are so many different things that we can do before we graduate. This list is not even an exclusive list that can help us in preparation for our job search and our networking prospects after graduation. So we're going to shift now into what we can do after graduation to really kind of make the most of our time, which can in a lot of ways be a little bit limited. And we really want to do the most that we can with the time that we have. So big thing to start doing really immediately is connect with other alumni. There are so many different ways that you can connect with alumni from ArtCenter and continue to work through your network and the resources that you build during your time here that can benefit you after graduation. Asmita, if you want to share anything about your experience connecting with alumni, or kind of how you recommend connecting with alumni through LinkedIn, through other resources, that would be so helpful.
Yeah, the only way that I have used to connect with alumni is through LinkedIn. So trying to look for people and add ArtCenter as one of the filters, you will start finding people who graduated from here. I have found people who had graduated in 1991 in my interview, and they are from ArtCenter. So you really have to leverage that point in your interview and talk to them about it. Connecting with other alumni can be difficult also because of the fact that when everyone is busy with their own work, a lot of people do not use LinkedIn at that point of time. So the quickest response that you're going to get on LinkedIn would be from recruiters or people who are looking actively for jobs. But people who already have secured a job might come on LinkedIn to scroll and look for articles or things that are happening in the design industry, but a lot of them do not look at the messages at times. So try and start connecting early before you graduate, I would say. And then after you graduate, try to narrow down your search, looking for people or industries where you want to work in, and if you have any alumni in those fields. That would be my suggestion.
Amazing. Fantastic. And then we've talked about this already, but I want to highlight it again. Try to begin an eligible opportunity under your OPT terms as soon as possible. So this is something that we've talked about earlier with that period of unemployment that you are able to have within your OPT term, that does carry over if you do get a STEM OPT extension. And we want to make sure that we're utilizing that time as effectively as possible, right?
Right. So few things to add here is I'm a spatial experience designer, so I can volunteer only for spatial experience design, because once you graduate, you are on OPT and you need to legally report everything. So if you are volunteering, the volunteer organization or manager should know that you'll have to do the paperwork, which is the I-983 and everything that the international office can explain you. You are eligible for volunteer, you can put it into OPT and stop your clock, but you need to be mindful of searching for opportunities that align with your master's or undergrad. Yeah, that would be one of the things. And then you can volunteer only when you are on OPT, because when you get on STEM OPT, you will have to find jobs that pay you and are E-verified. So encouraging you to volunteer would be, my volunteer organization wasn't even e-verified, but just because of the connection of 1.5 years with them and the tough situation that I was in, they e-verified themselves and hired me. So e-verification is a very small thing. A lot of people are not aware about it. So do your research on how companies get e-verified, because at times, yes, there are people who will advocate for you, but you are your biggest advocate. So being aware about all the things, being aware about all the sponsorship routes, being aware about all STEM OPT requirements, what is e-verification, what is STEM OPT. You will come across some people who are not even aware about what that means, and you will have to explain them what it is. So getting overwhelmed with all this information while you are on a ticking time, it's better you start learning about these things, have some emails ready, so that when you are stressed, you do not have to stress about one additional thing about preparing all these things. That this would be my biggest suggestion to all of you.
Amazing, amazing. And it can be a really, really stressful time. So we need to do things as much as we can to make it the least stressful for us as possible. So we've talked about this briefly as well, but let's get a little bit more in depth. So the importance of research before interviews, knowing who's in the room with you, knowing if there is a connection, how can you communicate most effectively with them, is going to be an incredibly useful tool after you graduate, for really making the most of those interview experiences that you have, again, to advocate for yourself and make those connections. How do you feel, really doing that research has benefited you in the interview space?
Right. So knowing who will be there in the interview is crucial. And most of the times you do virtual interviews now. So you will know who all is there, who all is going to be present in the interview. So looking at them, researching about them on LinkedIn, looking at what is the position that they are working at. A recent interview that I did had two ArtCenter alumni, one who was from illustration 1991 batch, and one who was in my own department 2014 batch. So leveraging that, speaking as if you're speaking to them as an alumni, telling them, as you know, at ArtCenter the process is so and so. So you are gaining their confidence. You are making the whole process engaging. So knowing that is going to be very crucial. There will be times that they will research you. So I had a common connection once. So they asked me, how do you know them? Is it just a connection, or have you worked with them? So being prepared on all these small things is crucial, so that you're not taken aback when they ask you such questions, right? And it's okay if you're taken aback too. You can take a moment of pause, think about what you want to say, and you can speak about it. It's not that you will have all the questions ready, right? I had an interview where someone asked me, explain your whole project in 2 sentences. How do I say the whole project in 2 sentences, which I took 1 month to prepare, right? So I just said, I need a moment. I took the pause. I thought, what can I say? And I said it. And I had all the and oohs in it, but it's okay. It's completely fine. But doing your research, people really like it when you ask questions. So what I usually do is I look at the job requirements. I see what I have, and I see what I do not have. So I do not show the question as something that I'm not aware about, but I try to ask them, oh, I did see that you have project management too. In my earlier experience, I have just worked on concept development and material specification. Project management, I have just like shadowed the project managers. So is this heavy on project management? So trying to show as if you know, but you completely do not know about it. It would be nice.
Amazing. And I just want to second here the point about prepare as much as you can for an interview setting, for a networking event. But know that sometimes there are going to be moments where you don't immediately know the answer, and that's completely okay. And you can get through it. And doing enough of that preparation work in advance is really going to make you feel confident, even when you do get maybe surprised or get a question that you weren't preparing to answer already, is going to be incredibly helpful.
Yeah, and just to add on to the earlier point, a big interview helped me a lot. So I used that. I did the master class because I did not have the time to do the whole session. If you do have the time during any break, do the whole class. I did the master class, which was more than enough for me to understand what are the kind of questions they ask. And yes, it is true. A lot of questions will align from what they are speaking there. And if you just have an idea about these are the key points I'm going to speak about, you don't have to script everything, you don't have to write everything. You just have a keyword about, oh, okay, I'm going to speak about sustainability here, or I'm going to speak about my sketches here or my rendering here. Just having those keywords in your head is great. And I think there is a technique called the STAR technique in the big interviews, which is going to help you. It's like knowing 5 stories in your mind about the experiences that you had, so that if they ask that question, you just remember that keyword and speak about the answers. And then there was one more resource that I had shared, which is on a checklist of what are the things that you might have to do before your interview. So that's going to be really helpful for you.
Amazing, amazing. I love the STAR interview method. Anybody who is interested in more information about STAR, please feel free to reach out to our office. We'd be happy to provide you with more information about that. But it's a really helpful kind of interview strategy or interview framework to work from, and can really make the process feel a little bit easier or more comfortable. So just keeping an eye on our time here, I want to hop into our next topic, which is identifying references in your industry who can advocate for you. So finding these folks through your networking process, through your time at ArtCenter, can be really, really helpful in having people who can speak to your skill set, who are in your industry and who can relate to folks who are interviewing you in your industry or considering you for opportunities, right?
Yeah. So here is a thing why going for networking events is important. One of my experiences, I went to an event at LA Eco Village. I met a lady there for, I think, just brief 10-20 minutes. We spoke, we connected on a few things. We connected on LinkedIn. And then I saw there was an opportunity in the same company that she's working in. So it's okay if you have met them, you have connected with them, reach out to them and ask them, could you refer me for this job? Because industries do look at those applications first and then look at the normal application. So finding references, you can get references from your alumni who are working in that industry already. You can also send some cold messages to people who you might not know. If you are at luck, you might hear back from them, or people you connected at networking events or in your volunteer opportunities. You can just say that, hey, I came across this opportunity and would you be able to refer me? The 4th route for references is recruiters. So trying to reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn, looking for those opportunities. Always make sure whenever you apply for a job, if you have a job poster information, email them or send them a message on LinkedIn. A lot of them will revert back to you and many might not, but it's okay. You should try. You should try.
Yes, absolutely. You should still try. One connection, you mentioned this to me when we've spoken multiple times. One connection can be the difference that you need. Just one,
Yes.
Not 3 dozen. One connection can be important and beneficial enough. Amazing. And so the next thing that I want to talk about here is really understanding what you want to do and then how to search for it, as well as really keeping all lines of communication in kind of your industry, your network, your community open, and not cutting off any potential opportunities before they have the opportunity or the ability to flourish and potentially be beneficial for you. So creating that openness for yourself can really mean being aware of and eligible for opportunities that you would not have been able to consider beforehand, right?
Right. So the biggest example from my experience would be I was reached out by RH Studios, which was here in LA while I was interning at Steelcase, and I was interning there for a year. So I did tell them about it because I wanted to continue with Steelcase at that point of time. But when I came back here in Jan, I reached out to the same person who had reached out to me a year back. And guess what? They did respond. And they wanted to look for opportunities that they are hiring for and if it would be a good fit. So if someone had shown interest in your profile or in your design process, make sure that you're connected to them and you can reach back to them when you are in need or you need help, because they had liked you. There could be some people who might not respond to you at all, and that's completely fine. But reaching out to people, asking for help, this was something that I learned a little later in life after my different experiences. If you do not ask, you're not going to get it. So it's important that you need to ask. We usually shy off with all the stress that we have, that I'm not going to hear back, I'm going to feel overwhelmed, and I'm not going to do this now. I cannot take this. But it's okay. Do not do it for that day. But next day, ask, and you will get the results for it.
Amazing. I love that advice so much. It never hurts to ask. It never ever hurts to ask. And you never know what could potentially come from that ask. And Asmita, I really, really appreciate you sharing all of this incredible advice. I want to just wrap up a couple of areas that we've talked about and leave a few minutes for questions at the end of our discussion today. So some big areas to think about here. Make sure that you're building a community that you can lean on both before and after graduation. Think about ways to develop these relationships. You have so many different ways through mentorship, through internships, through volunteering, through networking events, and through just building your community while you're here to create these incredible relationships and community for yourself that you can refer back to, check in with, and lean on after you graduate. And you never know where those potential relationships or that community can go. Next, of course, ensuring that your materials are all a strong demonstration of your skill set, of what you can do, of what you want to do very specifically, is going to be an incredible use of those pieces that will be the first point of contact for a lot of employers. They're going to see your portfolio and your resume and all of this incredible work that you've done. And we want to make sure that those pieces are as strong as they can possibly be going into that application period. And again, you have so many tools and resources with CPD, with your ArtCenter community at large, your portfolio reviews and advising appointments to access and get feedback on those materials. And finally, start your process early. Start maybe even earlier than you think, and really try to make the most of your time and your connections at ArtCenter, of the opportunities that you have here to spend your time here building towards that graduation point, so that when you do graduate, you have this community of people, of references, of advocates for you who can speak to you and assist you in your whole process. The creative community really is just that, a community of people. There are people who are there to assist and support and provide feedback to you and advocate for you. And you will really, really benefit yourself if you take the chances and the opportunity to grow that and flourish it during your time here. So a couple of resources that I want to highlight just before I open the floor up to questions here for our last few minutes. The CPD office does offer career advising. A couple of links have been added into the chat for access to that. Career advising can come in a few different ways, including in-person and Zoom appointments, or completely asynchronous email reviews of your professional documents. We can also talk in these sessions about things like mentorship and networking and finding internships and really building up some of these connections. Next, we have a couple of specific networking resources for anyone who is thinking, wow, networking seems really important, but I'm not sure how to do it. There are so many networking specific resources that CPD has developed, including how to have small talk and what even is small talk. And most recently, a networking at events workshop that we recorded with another alumni, Alejandro Sandoval, who provided so much incredible feedback and suggestion based on their experiences getting out into the industry as well. And then last but not least, I wanted to highlight just some specific tools for international students, in addition to the ones that my colleague Roxanne has been dropping into the chat throughout our discussion today on volunteer opportunities and networking and the amazing resources that Asmita has been mentioning. We also have a few tools here. Going Global, My Visa Jobs, and the International Student Services Office are going to be great places to touch base. Here, I really recommend getting familiar with these platforms before you're graduating so that you know what is available there, what information you can find, and who you can touch base with, especially with the International Student Services Office, in order to, again, make the most of your time here and get access to a whole range of really important information to make your process a little bit smoother and hopefully a little bit less stressful than it might otherwise be. Now, with that, I'm going to say thank you so much, Asmita, for giving us some of your time today. I'm going to stop our recording, hold this page up here, and open up